Hello, you've landed on the Lonely Diplomat podcast, and wherever you are in the world, from Dhaka, Damascus, Dhaka, Dili, Djibouti, Dodoma, Doha, Dublin, and Dushanbe, and all places in between, welcome. I'm Phil McAuliffe, and I'm the Lonely Diplomat. I've got a website, thelonelydiplomat.com, which caters to diplomats and those living the diplomatic life by helping them to reconnect with themselves and the world around them. Now, that might just seem like, too much in the third person, too much, over there. So let me rephrase my purpose. My purpose at thelonelydiplomat.com is to help you as a diplomat or as someone who lives the diplomatic life, be you an accompanying significant other, be you the child of a diplomat. I'm here to help you reconnect with your life as you lead your diplomatic life wherever you are in the world. This diplomatic life demands so much of those who live it. And while it demands so much, it still gives so much, and gives so many rewards and personal satisfaction, and being part of something far larger and far more enduring than ourselves. But it's still life, and indeed it is a tough life. My whole purpose is to essentially talk about the things that cause us to really struggle from time to time as we lead our diplomatic life, as we lead our lives, and to create a space where we do engage not only with the highs but with the lows of this diplomatic life. So I want to do this through my book, and if you haven't read my book, go and check it out on Amazon. And it's The Lonely Diplomat, Reconnecting with Yourself and the World Around You, which is available in ebook form and in paperback. And also on my blog, which is on thelonelydiplomat.com, this podcast, and also through my speaking and mentoring services. My mentoring services are available to you if you just want a single chat with me. You can organise one of those through my website. But also, if you want to have me in your corner, my unique insight, the benefit of my research, my lived experience, and supporting others who live the diplomatic life from all over the world, become a member. And if you become a minister level member, you can get me in your corner through a one-on-one mentoring chat every 3 months. And if you become a an ambassador level member, you can get me in your corner through a one-on-one call every month. So all the details are on thelonelydiplomat.com. So welcome. If you are a return listener, if you're a first-time listener, if you are listening on through a podcast service, if you are watching on YouTube, welcome one and all to episode 37 of the Lonely Diplomat podcast. And we're going to have another kind and honest conversation about our mental and emotional well-being as we lead the diplomatic life. But before I jump into that again, I want to just say that this is the second last episode of the Lonely Diplomat podcast. While tempting for dramatic purposes, just to leave it at that and say this is the second last episode ever. No, it's not. Relax, everyone. It's not the second last episode. It's the second last episode in this series. What I've decided to do is create 10 episode series. So I can generate content, have these chats with you over video in your ears as you are living your life, and then go and write and research some more and work with other people some more, and then come back in a few months with some more content to share with you. So while this is the second last episode, I'm always really happy to hear from you wherever you are in the world. And it's really curious. The feedback that I get from you is really, really interesting. I love it. Because, well, as my awesome diplomatic audience, you're pretty quiet. But when you do reach out, it's lovely. It's lovely to connect and feel that sense of connection with you, and to know that my words, whether written or spoken, actually help you as you lead your diplomatic life. So keep them coming. Keep them coming while, if you're listening to this during a hiatus, keep the comments, keep the questions coming in to admin@thelonelydiplomat.com. So that's by email, or just send me, if you want to be modern, send something. Send me a message on Facebook Messenger. Send me slide into my DMs, I think is the expression, on Instagram, or however you want to communicate with me. You can find me, I'm everywhere. So, with all of that said, and giving you, setting those expectations that this is the second last in this series of episodes, we're going to have a chat today about mental and emotional well-being, which is a frequent topic, either overtly or subtext, to my work. And this comes after, this episode comes after some engagement that I had with one of you, my awesome audience, where you shared with me that you're really struggling to cope, and struggling to cope with work demands and life demands, and specifically during 2020. And it's almost, 2020 just sort of goes for shorthand for frankly, the absolute cluster that year was. And I think, struggling to cope with the work demands and life demands of 2020 is perhaps a stunning example of understatement, diplomatic understatement, because so many people around the world really didn't cope with the demands, life demands of 2020. Add on top of that the demands of diplomatic life on us at work, in our private lives, and I'm in awe of, frankly, our ability to function. Our ability to continue to put one foot in front of the other, to remember to put socks on before we put shoes on, to put our t-shirts on the right way, to remember to brush our teeth or something like that. Because many people would not have lasted this long, and that's not something to necessarily boast about, because our drive, our commitment to our work, our commitment to our fellow citizens, our commitment to each other, the commitment that we have to something, to an idea that's far larger than us, and that we're connected to, that we can feel that we contribute directly to, is so powerful, And I've written many times and spoken many times on resilience. And indeed, resilience is one of the 5 key themes of my work here at the Lonely Diplomat. And specifically, resilience is all about the ability to flex under periods of stress and return to form. But the year, the cluster that was 2020 has meant, and I'm recording this in January 2021, so it's not yet clear how 2021 is turning out. So I'm reserving judgment on 2021 so far. But 2020, it just kept on coming. It just kept on coming, didn't it? And we found ourselves having to continue to roll with these punches, and the punches just kept on coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. And what we didn't have time for was to return to form. And if we did have time to return to form, it was felt like the barest of moments. And when the demands on our services, the demands on our time, the demands to help each other, to help our fellow citizens, actually just kept on coming, that It's little wonder that the person who reached out to me and shared that they were struggling to cope mentally and emotionally with their work demands and their life demands. It really is not surprising. But we diplomats and those who live the diplomatic life are a curious lot, aren't we? We're a curious lot. I find it at once inspiring and at once absolutely terrifying, our ability to endure. And I deliberately didn't say our ability to be resilient, because you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. In many instances, in many workplaces, the concept of resilience has been hijacked. The concept of resilience has been absolutely corrupted. So it's faux resilience. So FOUX, in case my Australian accent is not clear there. It's faux resilience. And resilience has been, feels like, at times, weaponized. Where if you do say, you know what, I need some help, can we please talk about, or whether it's in a constructive way on reflection, or not, in a way that might start an argument or cause people to feel upset or whatever. However we raise it and however it's interpreted, we fear. We live in absolute fear of someone coming back to us in response and saying, well, if you're not resilient enough, we can get someone else to do that job for you. And that's like the mark of shame. It's like, oh no, you're not resilient enough. That belief and the stories that we can build up and around that within ourselves that influence our words, thoughts, and actions can be incredibly dangerous, because we can then want to deny, we feel that we do need to deny our own humanity, to hijack, to somehow interrupt or intercept what is a normal human response to stress, by just sailing through it, just plowing on through, keep on keeping on, faking it till we make it, etc., etc. When we do that, when we deny our own humanity by not actually even acknowledging it, we can end up doing ourselves real harm. And it's not until we break, and we do break. We do break. As awesome as you are, listener, as awesome as I am, I break. You break. It's just a matter of time. So what we are left with is being able to pace ourselves, to self-regulate, knowing that the demands of the work will always be there. We have a choice in how we as an individual respond. So that's what I wanted to talk about today in response to the comment that I'm really struggling to cope. Because with the mental the work demands and the demands of life. It's like, I'm not surprised. And I'm so proud. I'm immensely proud of sharing that the listener, that the audience member actually acknowledged that publicly, because that was a big step. And we got discussing some more, and they shared with me that their employer sends out emails every so often going, essentially like, your mental health is important, take care of yourself, make sure you do, something each day that, good for your mental health. Great. Absolutely great. And that, for someone who, this is specifically the listener, for someone who is experiencing, like, they suspect, is feeling depressed. They suspect that they're feeling anxiety, they're anxious. So they're definite mental health challenges, mental health issues, that they're noticing the symptoms, the onset of those symptoms. And so they're getting these emails from headquarters saying, make sure that you take care of your mental health. Here are numbers for counsellors and service providers, contracted service providers. Speak to someone. It's okay to speak up, and things like "Are you okay?" day and all that kind of stuff. Bravo! That's a great thing to do. That's a great message to send out. And indeed, this is something that I have talked about in many episodes of the Lonely Diplomat podcast and in the blog, that all of those words, all of those sentiments, and the spirit of the intention behind it pretty much comes to naught if the operating culture, if the story that we are telling ourselves within ourselves individually and within ourselves collectively, if the story that we tell ourselves is that that by speaking up we're weak, that we will be punished, that we will not be, that we've killed our career, we've killed our ability to actually be a contributing member of our agency, of our relationship with another country, that by speaking up, by somehow acknowledging that we are human and subject to the human condition, and asking for help and seeking that help and accepting that help, that we have somehow done our dash, that we are no longer worthy, we've proven weak. If the perception leading from those stories that we tell ourselves individually and the stories that we tell ourselves collectively, if the perception is that that is the case, that somehow we will step off our career and never get back, then all the emails, all the statements in the world issued by HR areas of our employing agencies, issued by anyone, in wider society, in the media, will come to absolutely nothing, because perception is reality. And the challenge then is both to acknowledge the perception, to challenge the perception that it is not reality. And that's where I want to go for the rest of this episode. Because in the conversation that I had with the audience member who shared that they were struggling to cope with the demands of life and the demands of work through 2020, I asked if they had sought help. And this goes back a couple of episodes. I think it was episode 35 of the Lonely Diplomat podcast, where talking about being a burden. And that was someone else. That was another audience member who shared that. But there are so many similarities between that episode and this episode, in terms of the willingness to engage with help. Because the person said that they, didn't think that they, that their troubles, that the issues, the thoughts and feelings that they were experiencing were justified asking for help. And that really troubles me. And I did spend, a few episodes ago saying how much that troubled me. So I will leave it at saying that really troubles me. And if you want to know how much it troubles me, go back 2 episodes to episode 35 and have a listen of that.